Tara Lynn with 5 Acres Honey Farm. Today I'm going to share a little bit about making a shrub, which is a really delicious drink, and you can use ingredients from your garden or from things growing around your property that you can, very accurately identify on your own. And one of the things that I do every month is I make a list of intentions and I pick 10 things that I want to do for the month. And this past month I picked making a winter shrub because I really enjoy making shrubs and I just haven't made the time to actually do it. And it's been on my mind a lot, so I added it to my list for February. And I am going to go out to the garden and actually just around our property and put together a few different things into the shrub. And so if you haven't made a shrub before, what you do is you take an herb or multiple herbs and usually a fruit, and you let it sit in apple cider vinegar for usually 3 days, 3 to 5 days. I think some people do it for longer. And after that time has passed, you strain out all of the herbs and the fruit. And what you have left, you can mix in and heat very slightly with some honey. And then you have your shrub. And with that blend, you can dilute it into water and tastes really good. And you get really beneficial properties of those herbs and the fruit and then the honey. And it's just all around a great way to kind of taste the season in a way, which is how I like to use them. And I usually focus on whatever's in season when I make them, and I have not made one at all this winter, and that's why I really want to get this in, because there is less than a month left of winter, and there is definitely a few ingredients that I can use. So I'm going to go out to the garden and fill this up and show you how I put it together. I have some sage that's overwintered here in this pot by the pond, so I'm going to be planting it over here very soon, but there's a few good leaves I can take off for the shrub. This is yarrow that I have established in like a little wildflower patch area, and I also have some in the garden too, but you can see it is really great and the deer don't bother it too much. And here's the yarrow that I've got established in the garden. And this is some bee balm, so I'm going to put that in the shrub as well. So I'll have a good blend of properties and flavor. Saying hey to the bees on my walk back. These 3 closest hives to me here are actually no more, so I'm slowly cycling all this equipment through the freezer. This rosemary is right by the front door. I think I had heard a long time ago that rosemary by your front door is good luck, so that's why I planted it here, and it gets sun for most of the day. And I'm just going to take off a teeny bit of one of these new shoots. All right, I've got my little container of herbs. I'm going to go wash them before setting them up in the apple cider vinegar. All right, I'm back in the kitchen, and I decided I'm going to put those herbs with some sliced pear. I think it'll be a really good combination. One of my favorite combinations, which we're still a few months away from getting a local harvest of, is rosemary and blackberry. That I feel like is one of the best combinations. And my second favorite is blueberry basil. That's another great one, and it comes out almost perfect every time. All right, so I'm just cutting off a few of the sides of this pear, and I got an organic pear so that we're not setting this to just sit in some apple cider vinegar and get any kind of chemicals on it. And what I like to do is try to create as much surface area as possible. So, well, maybe not as possible, but just some extra surface area. I mean, I could grate this into smaller pieces, and then the herbs, like this is sage, I'm just gonna rip this up and drop it in. And the same with the rosemary, and you don't really need to do this, but again, like the extra surface area just helps it absorb more of the flavor, and that is what we're looking for, so that all these flavors can come together. And let me grab some more in here. And based on like, you know, the different properties of these herbs, you know, it's kind of like a nice, you know, like a nice perk that they have these properties, but mainly I'm looking for flavor. But what's really nice about, you know, having the variety is that you're getting all the health benefits. Sorry, I was distracted by my dog. I was getting, you know, you have all the health benefits of each of the herbs. And being that soon there'll be a lot more things blooming, I feel like this is a nice little way to close out winter and kind of look forward to the flavor combos that will be possible for spring. Great, so I got those in there, and I'm just gonna get these a little bit smaller. And you know, you can make a larger batch. I personally, because I like the variety of different flavors, I like to make smaller batches and then just switch up the flavors. And what I'll do, I'm just gonna grab the apple cider vinegar. I should have grabbed that before. All right, so I'm just using organic apple cider vinegar with the mother. You can look for that on the label, and you just want to cover it so that none of the herbs or fruit are exposed. So, you know, they just started to float. And what I'm gonna do is put a piece of wax paper on top so that the metal lid doesn't get, you know, kind of ruined or prematurely rusted. And then I just put this in the fridge. And some people, from what I understand, and I'll just bring this up here, some people will keep it at room temperature. I just prefer to keep it in the fridge, you know, that just, I feel like that just prevents any potential bacteria from taking over. But the apple cider vinegars is in there to kind of combat that. So what I do is I put it in the fridge, and then like once a day, if I remember, I just shake it up a little bit. And like I had mentioned earlier, within 3 days, you can start using it. Today is Thursday, so I am planning on straining all of this on Sunday, which is when you will see me next. It is Monday. I had planned to put this shrub together on Sunday, yesterday, but then I realized I hadn't done a February garden tour, so I squeezed that in on the last day of February yesterday, and now I have my shrub, or soon-to-be shrub. This is just the apple cider vinegar and the pear, the yarrow, rosemary, sage. I'm gonna strain this out. Here I've got a strainer in the bowl, and then I've got a little bit of honey, not my honey, from my mentor, because I'm out of my own honey. And then I'm going to heat it up here on the stove, and very minimally. And I'll show you how, and also to repeat again why is that I really don't like to apply much heat to honey, because then you lose out on the medicinal properties of it. So it's mainly just to get, this was from out of the fridge, mainly to get this apple cider vinegar blend into a more like room temperature warm state, so that it's easier for the honey to dissolve into it. And basically you're making an apple cider vinegar syrup. All right, so I just took the lid off. It just has a little rust on it anyway, and that wax paper. And now I can pour this here to strain it out. And like in the past, I've like really like blended this stuff together and made like a little like syrupy sauce out of it for pancakes and things. But I'm just gonna put this in the compost and shake that off. And now we've got, there's still, you know, a few bits of herbs in there, but I'm not a big stickler if that hangs out in my drink. I'm okay with that. So you can use a finer mesh if you wanted to, you know, keep that part, all those little parts out. So I'm gonna put this here, and then I'm going to heat this up, let's see, to probably just like I just got an electric, you know, stove here, and I'm just gonna keep an eye on it. I don't want it to boil, and I don't want it to be like too steamy. I want to be able to touch it and not hurt myself. And when it's pretty warm, then I will add the honey to it. I just poured the apple cider vinegar blend into this bowl. It's just warm to the touch, not too hot. And I'm going to pour some of, what I do is equal parts of honey to however much apple cider I have let steep. So I'm gonna eyeball it. I don't do anything really exact because it's just delicious on its own anyway. So approximately the same amount of honey to apple cider vinegar. And now we'll just blend it together. And some things I've read online and in books, like they actually heat both of these together over, the element, or flame, on the stove. But I feel like you can't control the heat as much, and there's a lot of a risk of overheating the honey so that you're not getting the medicinal properties of it. So I can kind of feel this is like still, it's just warm, so it's gonna take a while to mix it together. But the other thing you could do if you do want to put both of them, combine them like this and then, heat them, is just do it over a double boiler. So have a pot of water boiling below it, and then just kind of hold your pot of your solution over that and just slowly warm it up from like a distance so it doesn't have that direct heat. So this feels really blended to me now, which is great. So this is the shrub, and this is not what you drink directly. So this is basically what you use as a syrup. So there's a lot of drinks in this one because you only want to use about maybe a teaspoon to a tablespoon, depending on your preference, of this solution with a glass of water. Right. Just needed two hands for a second there. So I'm gonna pour this back into the same glass that I had created it in. And I'm gonna put an extra piece of a fresh piece of wax paper on top between the lid and the glass to prevent that rust from getting down there. And now, it's just kind of like I was mentioning, like as a level of your preference, if you want like a tablespoon or a teaspoon. And then I like to use some sparkling water. And you can also, like if you wanted to, mix a little bourbon in or some tequila, if you want to make a cocktail, or you could just keep it as a shrub, which is kind of like a mocktail. I, again, just like to eyeball it, so I'm just going to put in a teeny bit there. And then I will, I still have to open the bottle here. Right, so now I can pour this in. And I personally don't care for ice in my drinks. Even in the summer, like I'll have a chilled drink, but I don't really like having ice in. So if you prefer ice, then you put your ice in first and then fill it up. And I like to use a straw because that prevents the apple cider vinegar from really, damaging your teeth and stuff. And it's great. I've got my winter shrub finally, now that we're just less than 3 weeks away from the start of spring. And it is absolutely delicious. I'm so glad that I made the time to put this together, and I will share more in the coming seasons of some different blends that are fun to make.